Oh my goodness. Oh, oh, good morning. Oh, I have things I have to do today to catch up. I have to catch up, like meal planning. I haven't gone grocery shopping. I haven't gone grocery shopping for this month yet, and we're already halfway through it. Um, for those of you that know me, I shop once a month. And yes, everything lasts all the way through. Like 2 weeks through, I get all the produce and everything that's starting to get a little bit like wilted. I've never had any problems with anything getting like moldy or rancid. Usually they just start to wilt a little bit or something, and then I'll chop it up and I'll throw it in a bag and freeze it. Then I have it for the rest of the month. It's like after the first 2 weeks after grocery shopping. Anyhow, yeah, meal planning. I had this new app. I have a serious problem with, nobody wants to hear this shit, but I have a serious problem with gas. Like, excuse me. So I'm like, anytime I eat anything with like, and I'm pretty sure it's gluten, anything with flour in it or milk, I get ridiculously disgusting gas. Anyway, my meal planner, I have a meal planning app on my phone that I really like. My grocery list used to be out of milk because I used to add up. I used to be able to put everything I'd get and the price next to it so that I always knew how much I was looking at when I went to go grocery shopping. And I always get the same thing every month. For the past over 5 years, I've been that way. I always get the same exact thing. Not until the last couple months that I was in Indio, California. I was in a pretty bad depression and not even able to get up and cook. So then at that point, I started to lean towards prepared foods that were already ready to eat, that I could just pop into a bowl or into a bun or something and cook it in the microwave. So so that's when I started leaning towards meatball sandwiches. Meatball sandwiches, smoothies. I had a lot of breakfast cereal and oatmeal, ramen noodles, things that were already prepared that I could just whip together. Now I don't know how I still have so much food in my fridge. And I just asked my daughter yesterday, I was like, have we been eating? Because like we still have all this food. And I don't know if I just went overboard when I grocery shopped last month or if we haven't been. She's like, no, we eat every night. I guess because I was working, there's a couple nights we ate. I grabbed something while I was out and brought it to her. So I think that might be why. I don't know. Anywhoosie, the app. Oh, Meals by the Day is what it's called. Out of Milk used to be my app for grocery shopping lists, but this is Meals by the Day. Did I say Meals by the Day or Meals by the Week? Meals by the Week, I think. Meals by the Day. It's called Meals by the Day. It's a little app right here in the corner. Meals by the Day. You jump in and you plan every 1 week at a time. Up in this little corner here, you can tap this and choose which, if you want to do this week that you're on or the next week. These are the meals we're supposed to be having this week, the current week. I haven't gone grocery shopping for them. But once you put the meal in, you'll tap. Okay, you'll find a day, like Monday, you'll tap the day. And it'll give you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can hit the add button. You can put in however many items or meals or whatever you need for that day. Like, okay, here we have baked sweet potato with almond butter for breakfast. And then you can put in your own picture. You can put in all the ingredients. And then there's also right here on the reference tab, you can hit the reference tab. You can put in an actual link. Oops. You can put in an actual link to the recipe. Okay, this one's not going right now, but you can put a link to the recipe. So I have like baked sweet potato with almond butter, hot green tea for breakfast, veggie fritters and iced green tea for lunch, jerk chicken Buddha bowl with mango, fruit infused water for dinner. So, I need to, oh yeah. And then once you do that, my week, meals, ingredients, settings, blah, 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 ingredients. It has a list of all the ingredients you need alphabetically. There was also another, let's see, my week. Oh yeah, okay. Up here where the grocery shopping cart is. If you touch the grocery cart, then it will take you to, for that week. See here, it says Monday, baked sweet potato with almond, blah, blah, hot green tea, jerk chicken Buddha bowl. Tuesday has that meals. Wednesday has that meals. I only got to Wednesday, but had I finished the whole thing, it would have the whole week of meals here. And then it has the shopping list, how much of each item you need. And it says specifically like 1 banana, 2 sweet potatoes, 4 slices of ginger. And you can go and you make sure you get exactly what you need, not too much, not too little. That way things don't get wasted. Things don't get, you don't end up with not having what you need for your meals. I just haven't finished it yet, and I need to get it done. I haven't gone grocery shopping for this month. And I'm going to start, since I have this, I'm going to start trying to go by the week. That way I can, I'm just going to see. I'm going to go shop by the week because I don't really have any way other than to call a cab or a shuttle to get my groceries home. But if I shop by the week, I could generally fit it all in a couple bags. I thought my friend had a basket for that bike, but I think he took it with him. No, that's just that one. The it's not the basket. It's the oh crap. Anyway, so good morning, folks. It's Sunday. Tomorrow's a holiday, I believe. What's tomorrow's holiday? Anyone know what tomorrow's holiday? What's tomorrow's holiday, baby doll? President's Day. Today is hot meal service day. You want to go serve meals today? You want to go volunteer? Huh? No, it's at the park at 3:00. All we got to do is help serve. I'd love to go do that. Can we? Huh? No. They're serving hot dogs today to the homeless people. We used to be homeless and we used to eat meat. Oh, you weren't with us, but me and Daniel used to have meals. I think it's good to get back. Don't you? They're nice, cool church people. They might be able to help you find a job suitable for a 14-year-old. I think since you can only work 4 hours at a time. No? Guess not. Anyway, I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm not as under the weather as I was yesterday. This morning I'm up drinking coffee. I am very disappointed that I didn't keep my job. I'm disappointed because I did like it. I did like the job. But it wasn't anything that was suitable for a single mother like myself who has a 14-year-old that needs a lot of love and attention right now because of the situation we came from. So, and although she does very well by herself, that's part of the problem is I don't want her to be so cooped up all the time. She's either at school, and when she's not at school, she's here by herself until I'm back from work at 4, and it wasn't really anything I was fond of. So that being said, I'm just going to handle my scandal while she's at work doing what I do, and everyone who has problems with that shit can kiss my ass because I don't care. I'm not a judgmental person, and I definitely don't judge women that are in the sex industry, and that's because I've been there and done that, and I know a lot of them aren't mentally healthy enough to be doing what they do, but they do it anyways because they have to, or they feel like they have no other option. Me, I think now is much different than when I used to work in the sex industry. When I first started in the sex industry, I was probably like 20 years old, and I was just a dancer. I did do a video that went all wrong, all bad, and yeah, you just got to be very careful who you work with. I think that was when I was like 19, I think, but I didn't have any problems when I was stripping. When I was a stripper at TD's West, very, very it was a very safe club for me to work at. The people that worked at then were Anna, and his name was Anna. Excuse me. But they were always very protective of the dancers, very, very stern and unforgiving when it came to our rules. People weren't allowed to touch. People weren't allowed to do anything in VIP that wasn't acceptable. Not like California. California, like I said, I danced in California when I was probably my late 30s, early 30s, early 30s. I'm 40 now, so in my early 30s, and it wasn't anything like it was in Arizona when I was 20 years old. Arizona is much better for me, to me. Of course, the difference between Arizona dancing and California dancing is California, they have topless and they have nude. Arizona, when I was dancing, they didn't have nude. We only had topless. But we could be topless anywhere in the club. In California, you can't be topless anywhere except for within this certain, I think it's 2 to 3 feet of the pole. Anywhere outside of that, and you can get fined for violating a health code. And that's in topless bars. And that's where I worked. I didn't work nude. I wasn't willing to get completely naked or dance on the same pole as other women that have had their hoo-haws rubbed all over it, as a matter of fact. I wasn't as hypervigilant for the cleanliness of the pole in a topless club as I should have been. But there was a nice young lady who was very hypervigilant about those things. And I think we're all grateful to her, because sometimes we weren't using our heads as far as the cleanliness of the stage went. Anyways, that was in California. In Arizona, every girl, we all cleaned the stage before. It was either before or after we got on. And that includes sweeping and wiping down the floor. Or not sweeping, but wiping down the floor and wiping down the pole. But we had 3 stages. We didn't just have one. We had two main stages, and we had one that's like a pool table, but it was a stage. Well, if I could go back to dancing at TD's West, I totally would. I love TD's West. There was the West Club, and then there was the East Club. I think I already discussed this before, but the East Club was mostly the college guys. And they liked all the girls that were the Barbie doll girls, the young, plastic. And when I say plastic, I don't mean that as an insult, because I have breast implants, and I don't have any problems or issues with people that get cosmetic surgery. I don't care. It's your body, and it's your self-esteem, and it's your mental and physical health if you choose to have plastic surgery or cosmetic surgeries. So please, no one take it there. I've had my breasts done. I don't care. I got them done for me, not to dance on a pole, not to look good for men. I did them for me so that I could feel like a woman. I could feel my feminine. I'm a very masculine person, like physically speaking, but I'm not a masculine person at all. Like, I'm a tomboyish, but I'm definitely a woman. I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, so that led me to get my breast implants, because I did feel very masculine, and it was a struggle for me. I didn't like it. I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to accept it. I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't feel like a woman. Once I had my breast implants done, like my self-esteem soared through the roof. And I'm not conceited. I'm not arrogant. I'm not like narcissistic now, but I am very confident now. And I know that I actually look like a woman and I feel like a woman and I feel better about myself. Anyhow, that's a whole nother video. Today I'm just shooting the shit. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the West Club where I worked, which was on Miracle Mile. Anyone who knows Miracle Mile, Miracle Mile is not the host role, like Miracle Mile itself. Everyone seems to think, okay, yes, there are a lot of hoes out there. I say leave the hose alone, all right? Leave the freaking hose alone. It's their vagina. They're selling it. It's just like anyone else offering their services for money. I think if they're both willing participants, then who the fuck, why the fuck, we need to leave them alone. I think it's ridiculous. We allow all these things to happen to people till they get to the point where they're prostitutes because that's their last resort, or that's whatever. We have all these laws against drug addicts, and we have all these drug addicts in prison for like extended amounts of times because they're sitting there coping with a situation that they can't mentally handle, or they've gone through some sort of abuse or something. See, drug use is what people don't understand. Drug use is not something you just go out and get high one day and then you become an addict. Generally speaking, okay, there's drugs I've tried. I don't even have the desire to attempt using them again because they're just so uncomfortable and not my thing at all. Not at all. Now, 9 times out of 10, drug addicts are not out there because they just had a fucking party night one night and now they're stuck getting high for the rest of their life. Generally speaking, it's people who have a lot of emotional abuse, a lot of physical abuse, a lot of trauma in their lives, and they're coping. That's the only way they can cope without either hurting themselves or hurting someone else. And I totally get it. I think we're fighting the wrong battle. We're fighting a battle against drugs. Why aren't we fighting a battle against abuse of other people? Like, fight a battle against domestic violence, against stalking, against control. See, my phone seconds that. We're not fighting a battle against that. They're aiding and abetting criminals in doing those things. Which is like the court system has helped Jeffrey Martin Miller stalk, control, and abuse me and my child for 14 years. I keep saying 14 years because that's how old she is. That's when it started. I got her away from him and kept her with me until she was 14. Until she was 14. When she was 10 months old, I went to court and got her away from him. I told the courts that he's not her father. He refuses. He repeatedly removes her from me and refuses to give her back to me. He would convince me that I was a horrible mother. He would convince me that she was better off with him. He would convince me that I was going to be exposing her. He was just very manipulative. And then sometimes he would just take her from me. He would let me see her again, and then he would just pop back up and take her. I'm like, oh no, she can't stay out here with you. Who the fuck do you think you are? Like, seriously. He would convince me he was giving her back. He would bring her back to me. He would, and I stopped asking the police for help because they would sit there and do the same thing. Well, isn't she better off inside with him than she is out here with you? You motherfuckers don't know a thing about me. You don't know. I had a vehicle. The majority of the time I had a vehicle, especially after she was born. Where I went was nobody's business. I wasn't willing to say half the time because that motherfucker would show up and terrorize me. And the police would sit there and help him. The police would sit there and help him. I'd end up going to people's house, to someone's house, just to be nearby my daughter and begging them, like, please, if he comes over here, don't open the door. If he comes over here, don't open the door. He would never be out there running around with her if I was anywhere nearby. He would leave her at his friend Trisha's or his mom's and not bring her out. Mm-hmm. I called the police on him 3 times and told them I want my child back. They said, oh, there has to be court orders. It's the other way around. There has to be court orders for him to have her. There has to be court orders for him to have her. Just because his name was, they're like, well, if his name's on the birth certificate, then both of you have rights. And I said, no. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. In the state of California, until a man proves paternity, he has no rights to a child, period. I already knew that. And I kept telling them that the whole time and they ignored the shit out of me. They were like, oh no, there has to be court orders saying that no, there has to be court orders saying that he has the right to have her. Yeah. And at least, and the very first time they put me in ETS, they said that I was a danger to myself because I was frantic, that this fucking idiot had my child and I had no idea where he took her. And then I found him after I had just had a C-section. I was walking around the block still. C-sections are not anything that heal overnight. It's like a month or two before you're actually back up to par, especially when you've had 5 already or 4 already. I was walking around the block, knocked on his mom's door, God knows how many times, knocked on his friend's doors and how many times, or no, God only knows how many times. And then finally I saw him. It was like 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I finally find him up by Daisy Street or something. And I'm like, where the fuck is my daughter? Where's my baby? You're sitting here, you take her from me saying that I'm not fit to have her. You run off with her without permission. Where the fuck is she now? Where is she now? You're running around the neighborhood high as fuck telling me all I want to do is get high and do drugs and blah, blah, blah. Because I had contacted him. I had got a hold of him somehow on the phone or some shit. And that's what he told me. He said, all you wanted to do was drugs. Because I stepped outside to smoke a cigarette. Well, this motherfucker thinks he knows everything everyone's thinking. This motherfucker thinks he knows everybody's intentions for everything. He's got ODD, and he managed to manipulate the shit out of everyone so many times. And me and my daughter suffered greatly for that shit. Anyhow, I don't know how we got onto that from meal planning, but any hoozy. I'm so glad that's all over. I'm so glad that's all over. I really wish there was a way that I could hold him responsible for what he's done, because 14 years. Yesterday, my daughter and I got in a bit of an argument, because just because of the situation. And she doesn't have a concept of, she doesn't have the same, like you see someone in need of a little bit of assistance, and usually someone will be like, oh, can I help you with that? And she doesn't visually process those things. She'll just sit there and will watch you struggle. And it's not bad. I mean, I'm not downing my daughter for this. It's not her fault. It's because of him. She has ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. Well, I don't know that she has it, but she has a lot of the traits, she has a lot of the traits. We're both autistic. I know she might have a little bit of narcissism. It doesn't have to be that way. We can work through those behaviors. I think she's young enough. We can, with the right person helping her, which is me, we can work through those things. The ODD, she does have a lot of behaviors that resemble ODD, but the most prevalent is Asperger's or autism. And she doesn't really see other people's struggle. Like, she'll just stand there, and sometimes I'm guilty of just standing there thinking, God, why isn't she helping me? It's obvious that I'm struggling right now. And but because I'm like a Happy McHelperton, and I forget that she's been in an environment where people aren't Happy McHelpertons. They're just big finger pointing balloons that want to make everyone do everything else. And so they want to order people around and tell them how to do shit and tell them to do shit for them and whatever. But so I try not to get upset with her. It's not her fault. Good morning, baby. I don't want to sit here and talk about you. I'm sorry. Am I hurting your feelings? No? Okay. Make sure you let me know if I say stuff that hurts your feelings. It can help you understand where I'm coming from and what I'm saying it for. Okay? Mm-hmm. Did you sleep well? Mm-hmm. What do you want for breakfast? Mm-mm. You don't want anything for breakfast? I'm going to start making chia pudding. I don't know if you'll eat it, though. Do you think you would like it? No, you don't? Do you like tapioca pudding? Do you like tapioca pudding? Yeah. You've never had tapioca pudding? Mm-mm. The pudding with the balls in it? It has little tiny balls in it, little tiny beads. The popping pearls in it? They're not popping pearls. Popping pearls are bigger than tapioca. Tapioca's like a mini size, a mini version of those. But in pudding. It's like a kind of a vanilla-ish pudding. No?
I'm not a big fan of pudding unless it's rice pudding.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make chia pudding. We'll see how well you like that. It's like milk and chia, and you could put fruit in there. I think you'll like it. It's good health food. Okay? Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to get this week's grocery list together so I can go grocery shopping tomorrow. You don't have school tomorrow?
Mm-mm.
Oh, good. We get to have an outing together and go get groceries.
Mm-mm.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow at school, we're only gonna go grocery shopping for 1 week of groceries. Okay, we're gonna try to grocery shop this month, a week at a time. Okay. All right. I'm excited. Are you?
Mm-mm.
No. Why? You gotta learn to grocery shop for when you get older. Who's gonna grocery shop for you? Me? I have to be there till the day you die, huh? I told you I would be, didn't? Huh?
Esther wants to know when she can come over.
Austria?
Yeah.
She can come over. I gotta put a bra on though.
I'm going swimming, so I don't know if she wants to come with that.
Oh, you guys are gonna go swimming today? Well, that means I gotta
I
sit.
want to go swimming.
That means I gotta sit out there with you.
Go ahead. That's fine. I got to teach her how to swim too. Literally, nobody I know knows how to swim. Apparently.
No, are you in your panties? Because I'm recording.
I'm in my boy shorts.
Okay, well, as long as you're dressed, as long as you're covered.
I'm in my boy shorts and a sports bra, which is my bathing suit.
For anyone that knows me, I let her walk around in anything she wants as long as she's covered by legal standards. And as long as she carries herself like a young lady. I told her if she goes out and she's dressed like what people call a hoochie mama.
Can they see me?
Please define hoochie mama, because I never knew that clothes determined who was a hoochie mama and who wasn't.
Can they see me?
More judgmental bullshit. I let her wear whatever the fuck she wants. If she's going to school, there's school dress code. She has to follow it.
But if it's a weekend or I'm not at school.
When she's not at school, she can wear whatever she wants, as long as her nipples are covered, her vagina's covered, and her asshole's covered, because that's the legal standard. And she has to carry.
Yesterday is
Wait.
an example of that, Mother.
And yes, I know. And she has to carry herself as a young lady. She can't be sitting there acting in any provocative or sexual manner, any way that's inviting sexual attention or indicating that she's interested in anything sexual. She has to carry herself like a 14-year-old young lady. She knows that, because that's what determines that's what affects her behavior and the attention she gets. Now, if people can go to the swimming pool and wear a bathing suit and they're not hoochie mamas, why is the pool an appropriate place to be dressed like a hoochie mama, but nowhere else is? It's acceptable to be, what's the word? Scantily clad? Do I have the wrong words?
I don't know.
Okay. Scantily clad. I don't know. I think that's the right words. It's acceptable to be half naked at the pool, but it's not acceptable to be half naked anywhere else. People don't understand. We have issues with being comfortable in clothes. Like all night I've been fighting with these stupid armholes. Like,
Which is why I sleep in my underwear.
I don't only feel strangled when my throat is strangled. I feel strangled when my arms are strangled or when my legs are strangled. Like, I have a pair of underwear. I feel like a freaking, those baby dolls that have those underwear. You can't get them off. Like, the leg holes are so tiny that you're just like, I have a pair of underwear that does that. And I'm just like, oh my God, all day. I can't stand it. But yeah, I let her wear whatever she wants as long as she has
to. Example, Mother.
Tell them yesterday's example.
What did I wear yesterday?
A sports bra, a pair of jeans, and a flannel shirt.
That was it.
I see nothing wrong with that. She carried herself like a 14-year-old. She wasn't running around representing herself as being anything older than that. She wasn't speaking to a bunch of men and trying to be all sexy. So as long as she learns to carry herself with age-appropriate respect, I don't think there's anything wrong with grown-ass women that do that either. I think we're so busy judging each other based on our interactions with other people and things that really aren't our business. Like, oh, that person has sex with so many people, so they're a hoe. No, nothing makes a human being a garden hoe except for some kind of surgical operation that will actually physically turn them into a garden hoe. In which case they would no longer be a human being and they would be dead. Okay, I'm tired of all the bullshit that people do to each other. If someone wants to have sex with 15 people, that's their choice. It's their vagina. As long as they're not having sex with my vagina, I don't care. So who am I to call them a hoe? I'm not anyone that can call them a hoe. That's their personal choice. Just like me losing my kids because people didn't agree with my personal choices. Not once, not anywhere in any of the CPS records is there any physical evidence that I was a neglectful or abusive mother. Period. Those are the only two reasons they can remove children from parents. Period. Not because of choices. How had I chosen to be abusive, which I wasn't, ever? Had I chosen to be neglectful, which I wasn't, ever? Okay, leaving my kids with their grandparents, not neglectful. They didn't agree with the grandparents they were left with. Oh, well, they're old enough that if one of them has a heart attack, or if both of them have a heart attack, who's going to be there to... Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Okay. That was why they took my kid originally. That's why they took my kids. And then they put them where they put them. One with my mother, one with, actually, I think two. I think they were in foster care at first. And then one went with my mom. And then the other was in Casa de los Niños. And I was visiting the one in Casa de los Niños. I actually had to go see her one of the times she was crying. She wouldn't stop crying. She was having a breathing treatment for some reason. They were giving her a breathing treatment. They couldn't get her under control. And so I went in there and I held her until she regained control of herself and went to sleep. And then they shipped her off to the hospital. That was one of my children. And the other was with my mother. My son, CPS, doesn't realize, who was supposed to be with a nice young lady named Danielle, who has since passed away. God rest her soul. She gave him back to me. And I don't believe she did anything wrong by doing that. I took perfectly good care of him. I was scared to death that she was going to get in trouble for giving him to me. And I was scared to death that I was going to get in trouble for having him. And I don't know why anybody allows CPS to play games with people's heads like that. They are not in any authority over any of us. They really are not. They have no right to do anything that they do half of the time. And we're convinced by them and by the police that they are. They bully us. They bully us. If you read the Welfare and Institutions Codes, it's voluntary. Services are voluntary. Unless they can charge you with a crime against your child and prove you guilty, they cannot remove your child from your custody, period. That is a violation of your parental rights. It's a violation of your natural human rights to not be deprived of your reason for living, because it says in the Constitution, children and our family are our reason for living. They are essential. They are essential to our lives. And to remove them from us with no reason, no indication of abuse, no indication of neglect, and then having our families convinced that that's exactly what was going on. No. I don't care if someone is on drugs. If they're not neglecting or abusing their child, there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. There's not. Because doing drugs to yourself is doing drugs to yourself. Now, if you're neglecting, meaning leaving your children alone and unattended, meaning not feeding your children, not clothing your children, not changing your children's diapers to the point where they have diaper rashes or something that cause some kind of gross infection or something that's detrimental to their health, that's neglect. Not feeding them, not clothing them, not bathing them. And then there's abuse, hitting them, yelling at them, leaving them secluded in a room while you're doing drugs, or leaving them in a living room while you're isolated or secluded in the bathroom doing drugs. Those are forms of neglect and abuse. I've never been one of those people. I've never done anything like that to my children. I was always overly concerned about my children and what they were doing, making sure they were safe. I don't care who wants to say I was doing this or doing that. My children were always attended to, no matter what. I see women out there that aren't on drugs. I see women out there that aren't alcoholics. I see women out there that aren't being abused by men that are just the most neglectful or most abusive people I have ever seen in my life. As a matter of fact, and I hate to bring this up, but my son's father was scrutinized because he had personal interests in activities that most people don't. I'm not going to specify, but they kind of drilled me about that. They were like, well, did he ever do anything that this and that and that and that and this? And I was like, well, I've never seen him hit any of his kids. I never saw him hit any of the kids. I saw him interact with two of his other children. And I never saw him hit any of them. I did, however, see him. The dog crapped in my shoe. So I seen him hit the dog for pooping in my shoe, okay? And peeing on the floor. But that was like the extent of anything I ever saw. That being said, my mother used to go outside every day with a fucking fly swatter and beat the shit out of our dog Sam because he wouldn't shut up. Because he wouldn't stop barking. Like, seriously, what's the difference? What's the difference? Like, they're saying that my son's father has a propensity to being violent. My mom used to beat the shit out of the dog Sam because he wouldn't stop barking. This dog Sam came from a family full of 12 children, 2 adults that were always interacting with him and having fun. To our house where he was chained to a trailer, fed and watered, but no one ever interacted with him, so he would sit there and bark. He was so used to being played with and attended to that he didn't know how to shut up. And my mom would go out there with the fly swatter fucking handle, not just the fly swatter, a metal fly swatter, and you could hear him, and she would do that at least probably 2 or 3 times a day. But my mom doesn't have a propensity to be violent. Appalling to me that she didn't even understand. And that used to bother me. I never said these things when I was a kid. That used to bother the shit out of me. Like, I could literally not feel what he was going through, but I knew it hurt. I knew it hurt. Like, I would sit there and cringe. Are you kidding me? I was never allowed to say, it's not that I wasn't allowed to say anything. I just knew not to say anything. But she would get so frustrated and so upset because he was it's just a fucking dog barking. How the fuck did she survive raising 3 kids? I don't know. That shit pisses me off, though. She sat there at the table when we just had dinner last, and she said, "Oh, well, what he did I saw what he did to Ray Lee, and it was just wrong. Who does that to a kid?" And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? You sat there in a fucking chair when you watched James do it to me. Just because I wasn't bruised like my son was bruised? Are you fucking kidding me? You could tell by the pictures of my son that he was whooped with a belt. You could tell by the pictures of his skin. He was whooped with a belt. There's no fucking difference between him and me. Just because I didn't bruise like my son did, there's still the same violent act being committed towards a child. It doesn't matter how hard you hit somebody. Honestly, to be honest, my girl's father, Freddie, sorry, Freddie, to put you out there like this, but he socked me in the face. He punched me in the face because he pulled me off the couch by my hair. He drugged me past something to the kitchen. I grabbed the vacuum cleaner cord and I hit him in the head with the vacuum cleaner cord because it's the only thing I could think to defend myself. I don't remember anything else after that. Lights out. I don't remember anything else. I don't remember him hitting me. I don't remember it hurting. I just remember that was it. The next day I woke up, my jaw hurt. I couldn't talk. Well, I mean, before I went to sleep that night, some other thing, I was conscious, but not until later on. Like, I was literally unconscious, still functioning and moving around. And then I came back to consciousness. Okay, but see, that act to me was not traumatizing. I don't remember it happening. I don't remember him hitting me. The next thing I do remember, I was on the phone with his best friend outside with all of my furniture and my daughter on my hip. That's all I remember. And Freddie was locked in the house. That's all I remember. It wasn't traumatizing to me. And he hit me harder than anybody's ever hit me. Like, he rendered me unconscious. So it's not how hard you hit somebody or whether you leave bruises. It's what's actually happening, why it's actually happening, and the person's understanding of what the violence is actually intended for. Like, what is the purpose of this violence? That's when it starts to make a mental impression on people. Like, as a child, quite frankly, I don't remember why the fuck I was even being spanked. But I just remember I was all over the place trying to get away from his belt. I remember him saying things that they swear to God he didn't say. But I remember him saying that. Like, I'm not going to stop until you stop, because I was flopping all over the place. Now, I don't know if he was saying he wasn't going to stop until I stopped screaming or crying. That's what I thought he was saying. Or if he was was saying he wasn't going to stop until I sat still and took my whooping. They don't even understand. You're expecting a child to sit there, suck it up. Do people even realize how mentally taxing that is to have someone bend over calmly and allow you to injure them? Do you know how mentally taxing that is? Bend over, move your hands, stand there calmly, knowing I'm going to hurt the shit out of you and be whooped. It's a mind game and it's physically taxing. More so mentally than anything. And I will vouch for that. And I'm upset that my children think it's okay to spank kids. My children were raised by my parents, and now they think that it's okay to whoop children. I know it's not. I've researched it repeatedly. I am a child that was whooped myself. My sister and my brother, I don't recall my brother or sister ever being spanked. And look at them. They both seem to have no problem with healthy relationships. Okay, my sister's been divorced. She's married again, but she's not anyone that's having serious issues with friendships or relationships. She's always done very well in the workforce. She's always had a job. Since she was like 15, she's had a job. My brother, he learned how to weld from a family friend. He's always had a job as far as I know. This is just based on what I hear because I haven't been around. He's very quiet and very, in my opinion, when I see him, he's very quiet and withdrawn. But that could just be when I'm around because he doesn't really know me as well as we used to. And it could just be the certain settings and certain situations. He's probably like me, very withdrawn at first, observing and listening and whatever. And then later on, when you get to know him better, he just comes out of his shell. That's how I am. But this is what I observe in my family. And like, seriously, I'm the one that got my ass whooped. And for my mom to sit there and say, what he did to Ray Lee was wrong. Are you kidding me? It's not any different than what you and James, or what you allowed James to do to me. It's not any different. It's not any different. Just because no one observed any bruises or anything later on doesn't mean there weren't any. There wasn't anybody to observe anything. I'm not saying there was, but I'm not saying there wasn't because I don't know. I don't know. If they knew how easy it is for me to bruise, no one looked. No one was interested in that. I was being punished for being a bad kid. I'm not sure exactly what I did. I can't remember. And I think that's another problem with physical punishment is your child is sitting there in fear. Your child is sitting there trying to avoid being hurt physically and not even considering what the hell the punishment is for. Then they start to become more reserved. Some of our brains work differently. And some of us are like going to totally, just like you have anger, some people have blind rage. I believe there's a similar thing like blind fear where your mind just shuts you down because you're so afraid. Your mind just shuts you down and you don't remember anything. I really seriously believe there is situation just like blind rage, but in blind fear where your mind just protects you from what's happening to you because it is so traumatizing. I can honestly say that I've been through it several times. No reason for me to forget anything that was going on, except that there was a fear that was so intense that my mind just shut down and I don't remember anything. That being said, I think really we defeat the purpose when we hit our children. Number one, we teach them to be violent. Number two, it damages their development of their neurological system. It's proven. Even the tiniest little slap, anything that hurts, anything that's physically or emotionally painful and not a natural consequence is going to damage the development of your neurological system. It's proven. 20 years of research, and we still sit here and say, oh, just a little spank is okay. Spanking him on the butt for this is all right. A pinch, a slap, a smack, a whooping, they're all detrimental to the neurological development of your child. Trust me, I've done the research. And there's a lot of people that grow up, oh, I had my ass whooped and I'm okay. But if you actually literally look at their life and their coping skills and how they go through things, how they handle things, their propensity to violence, if there is any, their accepting of others being violent towards them, if there is any, if you actually sit down and scrutinize their life in a good way, not a bad way, you will see where the damage was done. They may have been more resilient than other people and come through it in a better light. And have the ability to come, but not everybody is the same resilience. Not everybody has the same tolerance. We all, each one of us has a very different tolerance and It was a different word I was trying to use right now. We all have a unique tolerance and level of resilience, and it affects each and every one of us some more than others, and that's why it's better just to not do it at all. Because why risk? Why chance that? Like, the risk is not worth. There's really no benefit. The only benefit they have ever found throughout the 20 years of researching spanking and corporal punishment, the only benefit they've identified is immediate compliance. And they've identified mental health issues, childhood violence, adult abuse, adult acceptance of abuse, becoming an abused adult, so many different possibilities resulting from whooping a child, and only one of them is a positive result, and that's immediate compliance. Now, is immediate compliance worth risking your child's mental health as a child and an adult? I don't understand. I don't understand why it is. And then, is it serious? Are people that fucking delusional that they can sit there and be so critical of another person's? Okay, I understand that my son's father, Rob, sorry to put his name out there. My son's father, Rob, was raised in a family that did the same thing to him as he did for his children, or to his children. I say to his children. He would probably say for his children. Now, I don't know if he had spoken with me and I had informed. He's an intelligent person that will sit there and actually accept and understand what people say. He is very headstrong. He is very intelligent. He is very, he's a lot more advanced. What's the word? Intellectually speaking than most of us. And I know that if I had sat down and spoken with Rob about my research and how I feel about corporal punishment, I do believe he's one of the people that would sit down and accept that and understand it and look at it and say, okay, well, here's the facts. Could be right. Like maybe it's really just been taught to us the wrong way. Maybe they've just been avoiding all these facts and ignoring all these facts and doing these things to us, because now we're doing it to our children. I think he's the one out of all of us that would be intelligent enough. Him and my husband Adam. I just said my son Adam. My husband Adam doesn't spank his child either. And I know that he understands. I don't know that he fully understands, but I know deep, like in his heart and his mind, he's a gentle, he's not a giant, but he's a big teddy bear. Like, he has no intentions of hurting other people. He's very brash and forward with a lot of things. Like, he's very blunt, and he'll sometimes accidentally hurt your feelings, but it's not his intention. It's just Adam. But anyways, Rob, he's smart enough that he would have sat there and taken the information I was willing to provide and accepted it and understood it, rather than what my mom does. Oh my God, you're saying we're this kind of parent. You're saying we abuse you. You're saying your childhood was void of love. You're saying this. None of that is what I've ever said. That was part of the article that I posted on Facebook, that one of them said some of these families appear to be void of love and blah, blah, blah. That was one statement, a broad statement about some of the families that were using corporal punishment and authoritarian style parenting. That was a broad statement about some of the families. And she turned it into me saying my family was void of love and blah, 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 blah. No, stop and take a minute and read the whole article. Understand the difference between your parenting style and my parenting style. It's not an insult. It's an observation. It's me observing that this is what you guys did, and me observing that this is how I do things. It's not an insult. It's not accusing anyone of anything. It's observing behaviors. I've actually been trained to do that. Mental health rehabilitation technician. I am not a psychologist, psychiatrist. I'm not anyone that can prescribe anything. I'm someone that helps in a clinical setting to observe the symptoms and observe the behaviors of the clients so that everyone can collaborate and understand what exactly is going on with those people. So everyone give me a little bit of credit for what I've done and how far I've come. I haven't just been sitting here. Everyone thinks I've just been sitting here as a fucking drug addict, doing da-da-da-da-da. And I'm sorry I say fucking drug addict like that, because that puts a negative connotation on drug addicts. And I don't ever want to do that, because I understand where drug addiction comes from, and where 9 times out of 10, drug addiction is mistreated and neglected in a way, shape, or form, whatever. Anyhow, I've been sitting here struggling to survive the abuse that I was repeatedly having to endure. I was being forced by the courts to endure and accept abuse and control, and for over 10 years. For over 10 years. There was no way out. I would go to court repeatedly and point it out to them. I would go to court repeatedly and tell them how they're violating my rights, and they would repeatedly say, nope, sorry. Go home and shut up. Continue to follow the court orders. to send your daughter back home with that sex offender who's no relation to her or you. We don't care what your problem is with us. No one's rights are being violated. And they felt just because they said that was the case. I had no choice because the police would stand behind their court orders, not even realizing they were unlawful, regardless of how many times I pointed out, these are unlawful court orders. They're not even enforceable because they're not made pursuant to the code. That's one of the very first statutes in California. One of the very first statutes of the family code is these court orders are enforceable when made pursuant to the code. When made pursuant to the code by the court making the orders, the police, the whatever, and the whatever. When made pursuant to the code. None of them were made pursuant to the code except for the very first set of orders made by Judge Wells. And that was that Jeffrey Miller is required to prove paternity before he can have any rights or responsibilities to this child. Period. They completely bypassed and ignored that order because they knew he couldn't prove paternity, because he knew he wasn't that baby's father, my baby's father. He knew, but he repeatedly claimed that I told him that he was. And I was in the state of Nevada when I got pregnant. I was in the state of Nevada, and he knew that. He knew that he was not her father. There was only two possibilities, and actually only one possibility, because the only person I was having sex with at the time was her real father. And then the month before that, I had thought I was pregnant by someone else. So there was a possibility that somehow in between, I did have a cycle in between. Now, had I already been pregnant and still had a cycle, which has happened before, the baby would have been the person before him, which was someone nobody really knows. His name's Kat. Anyways, and he was aware. He's not aware that we've had a paternity test now. I have no way of getting a hold of him, but he's the only other person I include in any paperwork is his name, that he's one of the possibilities. But now that there's been a paternity test, he's been excluded as a possibility, but he's the only other person that I've ever told could be the father, aside from Linnea's real father, AJ. So that being said, bullshit. How do we get to this? I gotta go pee. All right. Thank you for watching. I don't know who you are, Trooper. Thank you for being wow. I don't know. Maybe is some of it actually interesting? I know I sure get off on sitting here watching myself talk. No, I'm just kidding. I don't get off on it. But I do get a lot of resolve and a lot of internal, like this. When I do this, sometimes it bothers a lot of people, but I do my best not to say anything offensive or hurtful. Actually, offensive, I could care less about being offensive because there's always going to be people in life that are offensive. If you can at all costs avoid offending people, then fine. But because I don't have an outlet like a psychological or psychiatry or counseling or an outlet to speak to, I don't have an emotional pillow, so to speak, other than myself and my daughter. And it's not healthy for me to always unload on her or with her or to her. And I don't really have any other outlets other than that. Doing it on YouTube, okay, it ruffles a lot of feathers. It ruffles a lot of feathers, but they're feathers I could care less about anymore because those feathers have not only been abusive and neglectful to me, but they claim that I've been abusive and neglectful to them and several other people. And I'm just like, really? Like, I'm saying things that offend you because they're true and they speak negatively of you. Like, I'm saying things that are true and aren't offensive except in the fact that you relate to them because they're things you're really doing or things you really did, and they really are not okay. And when you look at them from my point of view, you're like, damn, how dare you even say that? How dare you deny half the shit you deny? That's what I have to say. I'm not abusive or neglectful to anybody, except for Jeffrey Martin Miller. I can be verbally abusive to him on several occasions, which is why I try to refrain from speaking about him, because I don't have any filter. I don't have any reserve. I don't have any self-control when it comes to speaking about Jeffrey Martin Miller. He has destroyed my and my children's lives. Maybe not visibly destroyed my other children's lives, but he has affected their lives in a way they aren't even able to comprehend at this point in time. But they will see. They will see one day, and I'm going to be patient and let them come around in their own time because they've been forced to do everything the way everyone else wants them to do it, or everyone else felt was the safest and the happiest or the most effective for them, which was wrong, because they've all been put through things they never had to be put through. Like, had they been my children and with me, and had I been able to raise them, my life would have been completely different. Their lives would have been completely different. And I do honestly 100% believe they're beautiful, wonderful children now. They are. But there are a few things that to me are unacceptable, like accepting corporal punishment, being very critical and judgmental of me. It's hurtful, but I accept it because I wasn't able to be there. Granted, my reasonings for being there were much different than what my family claims they are. And by my family, I mean my mom and my sister. And I think my mom and my sister, I don't know, but they've painted the only picture they know how to paint, apparently, for my kids. Because no one, evidently, nobody really knows the truth as to where I was and what I was doing and why I was not there for my kids. I'm not sure why that is the case, because I was screaming out for help. But I do know this. I know my son's father is accused of abandoning my son and not doing anything to contact him and not doing anything to be a part of his life after they took him from him and all these other things. But I know one thing, my children were taken from me, and I made every effort to remain in contact with my mother. And my children's father, Freddie Rockmore, him and his mother did the same thing. My mother repeatedly refused to answer phone calls from Jean, from Freddie, from me, from Rob. My mother repeatedly refused to answer calls from all of us, claiming that we would never call, we would never contact, we were never doing these things, and we were never doing that thing. And I started to realize that when I was speaking, she didn't know I was still speaking to Rob, and she was saying all these things about Rob not calling, and then I mentioned it to him, and he was like, what the fuck is she even talking about? Because I call all the time, and they never answer the voicemail, they never call back, and they never answer the phone, claiming they're screening their calls. Very manipulative, very, very...
Amber, I thought you had to pee.
I do have to pee. Are you tired of hearing me, bitch? I'm tired of my mom doing this shit to people. I'm tired of my mom convincing everyone that we're all so bad when we've all made like one or two mistakes, big mistakes, but we could have corrected them had people just approached us with what we were doing wrong instead of ruining our and our children's lives by taking control and putting them under their abusive and controlling thumb rather than our abusive and controlling thumb when we're not even abusive and controlling. That's what I'm pissed off about. Okay, time to end live stream because I got to go pee.